3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin.
And welcome back to Chasin the Racin, brought to you by OMG Racing and JCT Truck and Trailer Rental. And this episode of Chasin the Racin is brought to you by Marlon Motorcycles. Marlon set up a motorcycle workshop in Hanslope, a stone's throw away from Silverstone, and he specialises in one-off handmade custom motorbikes. Marlon's also been in the British Superbike paddock with MMB Racing, with Eugene and James McManus, and more recently with Harry Truelove in the British Supersport. He's been around race bikes. He knows exactly what he's doing with the spanners, and he's built some incredible looking custom motorcycles. You can check him out at marlon-moto.co.uk, or if you're on social media on Instagram, go to Marlon Motorcycles, look for the gold emblem with a wing. Take a look, and if you have got something that you're thinking of doing something a bit different with, check out what Marlon's doing. And thanks for your support in this episode of Chasin the Racin. Today's guest, well, no, I better go to who's joining me. It's Christian Hidden again.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I've been on quite a few lately. I think I'm 6 or 7 deep.
I think the listeners are probably sick of the pair of us.
Probably
but
are.
We'll keep doing what we can.
Soon, yeah.
And hopefully they're happy with our guest choice. Jason Halloran. How's it going, mate?
Really good, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Yes,
been a few years since I've been on, so it's good.
Well, it was start of 2023, wasn't it? Which was
with your teammate,
with
Tim Neve.
Yeah, I was at the McAMS. I think we're at McAMS launch. That's right. Yeah.
Sat in the warehouse there, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
But you've been in the hot seat on your own as well.
Yeah. Been in it was 2021. I think it was after the first or second round, early in the year. So yeah, that's good.
Quite a lot's gone on since then.
But yeah, I've had a bit going on since then, to be fair. Good, bad, round in circles, up, down. But yeah, this year was pretty special, pretty good. So yeah, don't know. Where do you want to start?
I was going to say, do you want to start that first?
Sorry for the noise. Go on, Christian.
We're on the posh water, by the way. Jason supplied us with posh water, which is very nice. Thank you, Jason.
We're starting a new leaderboard for who can bring the nicest gifts to us, and
we're going to roll it out the next one, aren't we? I think it's been ordered. We're going to roll it out. We're going to do a Top Gear style leaderboard for how well we get looked after.
And if he'd have brought out the bowl of crisps that the missus was suggesting,
exactly.
He might have just gone up another place. Instead, we'll deal with posh water. Yeah. We'll settle for posh water. It's a good choice. Good choice.
So do you want to start EWC first, or do you want to go back in time to when we last went out? We'll leave it with you.
Go back to 23.
23, yeah?
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay, so 23 McAMS Yamaha. That was last year with Yamaha. It wasn't a bad year, to be fair. It was up and down. A few crashes, a few other bits and pieces, a few wins. Made it all the way to the last round, still in contention for the title. So that was a good thing. Can't remember where I finished, to be honest. Maybe 5th in the championship. I had a crash on the last day, I think, race 2, which dropped me down the championship a little bit further. But yeah, all in all, was pretty decent year, really.
How many years did you do with McAMS on that Yamaha?
I did 19, 20, 21, 5 years.
Yeah.
I did 5 years, yeah. 5 great years.
Yeah. Because I remember it being like you'd almost become tattooed blue, hadn't you? For that long. But it was Honda before that, wasn't it?
I'd been a Honda for so many years, and then I decided I needed a change at that point, wanted to ride a bike. It was a bit different to what I'd been riding. And yeah, jumped into Steve Rogers' team, McAMS Yamaha team, and 5 of my best years, to be honest. They're great. Won plenty of races, got close a few times to a title, and yeah, enjoyed it. Enjoyed my time there. It's great.
Grace has done a bit of research for us because it helps, just little stats and stuff. Is 28 race wins correct in BSB?
Yes, 28 wins. Yeah.
Are you still the winningest Yamaha rider?
Yes, I think so. Yeah,
that's pretty impressive because Yamaha's had some half decent runners.
Yeah, I think when you look over the years, back in time, Yamaha's always had top riders in BSB, and it's a stat. I'm not sure how long it's going to last. With Brad and Kyle, they're probably getting close now, I reckon. But it's pretty good achievement. I'm pretty proud of like that. So
yeah, I don't know what they've got. Actually, Kyle didn't win that many this year.
No,
he was super consistent, but he didn't win that many. Brad was
strong at the start.
Brad boxed 9 was it 8 or 9 on the trot?
Yeah, 8.
Matched shaky, didn't he?
Yeah,
it was a lot.
But I was going to say that to me speaks volumes as well when you think about a rider that stayed. When there's a rider jumping from team to team, it doesn't look great, does it?
Yeah.
And you've got to think teams are probably thinking a similar thing, that the consistency of that rider not staying with the same manufacturer. You stayed there for all those years. It says a lot about how you operate as a rider, but also how that team operated to keep you happy and keep you where each year, I'm going to sign that contract again, I'm going to stay where I am.
Absolutely. Like it was when I first joined, I'd obviously not won that many races. 19 started really strong, didn't quite get the win at the first round when me and Taz came together. Then I hurt myself not long after that, I hurt my shoulder, and I just struggled a little bit that year, to be honest. I don't know what it was, whether it was the injuries or whether it was just trying to find your feet again in a year. But I couldn't quite replicate the form I had at the start of the year. And then the second year was 2020, obviously COVID year, so it started really late. And I had a really good year, to be honest. Like we had some good races that year in 2020.
Really condensed season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really short. I can't remember exactly when it started, but it was like every other weekend, every second weekend, 6 rounds or whatever, and I won again. And that was the biggest thing for me. I won again. And once I won again, that just changed things a little bit.
Did you guys prefer a season like that?
Yeah, I didn't mind it, to be fair. It was all right.
You mean short?
Condensed together.
I didn't mind
I'm asking you that both collectively. Because there were things that I liked about COVID. I had to travel quite a bit, and airports were just a dream. You get on an EasyJet flight, and there was just 6 of you on it. It was so there were good things about it. But like from your point of view of a season being condensed down to that, where because
for me personally, it was good because at the end of 19, I'd had shoulder injuries throughout that year, and it gave me so much time to get properly fixed. So I had enough time with the normal off season, but I actually had loads of time once
make
COVID,
sure you were really right.
Once COVID hit, and it was just a nice little reset, really. And we started that year pretty strong, and then I think I was on the podium every round. Won again at Alton, and finished second in the championship. So it was pretty good, really. It was all right.
I think my favourite thing from the COVID thing was going to 3 races on a weekend.
That was when it started, wasn't it?
Yeah, because obviously to fit in more races or whatever, they just bumped an extra race in, which they've now kept. So now we've gone back to, I think it was 11 before that, and we're now at 10 rounds, but kept the 3 races. And I've always thought like you go racing to go racing. So it's mint. I'd have more if I'm honest with you.
Less standing about, more riding.
I'd have more.
Well, you guys had 4 this year, didn't you? Did you have 4 at one weekend?
Yeah, that was
Donington.
Yeah, but they were all short ones, and in a way, I wanted
long ones.
Yeah, because it changed the dynamic.
Right. Yeah.
If that makes sense, because you get your sprint race, not heroes, but you get people that prefer a short one.
Yeah.
So but it was interesting. But then they kept that one was a really weird one because we kept all the rest of the sessions.
All right, so it's quite a busy weekend then. Yeah.
So it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, you're there for racing, aren't you?
Yeah. Just when it spans over 8 months or whatever it is, and you've got that gap in the middle, and then there's a couple of back to back, and then just having it all crunched together. Right, let's go racing. I didn't know if you guys thought.
I didn't mind it.
I don't know, but I don't know what you think, Jason. But I always find that the first 2 rounds, or whatever it is, before the break for the roads, it kind of feels like a separate season anyway.
Sure. Then you've got I don't know how many weeks you have off for that roads break, and then you start again, don't you?
Yeah, so, it's almost like you do a couple of like lead-in ones, do round 1 and 2, don't you? And then you're like, right, sit around for another 6 weeks,
and then break, and then get properly started. Yeah. So that was 2020. It was good. Again, another year where I got to the last round, last day of the last round, and could have won the title, but didn't. Lost out to Josh, and then rolled into 2021, which was probably my most successful season in BSB in terms of wins and all the rest of the stuff. And had a great year up until the end of it, really, up until the Showdown, and lost out that year to Taz. And then 22, 23 were another load of wins and good years, really. So, I still speak with Steve now. I speak with Steve, not every day, but I speak with him, a couple of times every other week, and get on great with him. Got a great relationship with Steve and the guys at Raceway. So still got a good relationship with them. So.
What do you put that down to? Like, did you always have that relationship before you went to that team? Did you know him beforehand, or like?
I didn't really know Steve before I rode for him. And I just got on with him really well, and I think we got mutual respect for each other. I'd done a good job for the team done a good job for me. They always looked after me, Steve always gave me a really good deal. And we just got a mutual respect for each other, I think. So, and now I'd say, like most things in sport, when you spend a lot of time with people, we're probably more friends now than anything. Mm-hmm. You can call him up and have a chat about anything you want, really. It's not always about motorbikes. Yeah, it's good.
That's the bit that I always think is nice, if you have got something outside of bikes. You talk about something other than work then, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, was there ever any point in that 5-year period where there was a carrot dangled and you thought,
Yeah, of course. Like every year you speak with other people and other people speak with you. But the good thing I had was that I was always happy with the position I was in. I always felt like I had one of the best bikes in that period. That block that we had, the Yamaha, was always really strong. So it wasn't like I was looking for a different bike or anything like that. Most times when people start looking elsewhere, they may be looking for a better deal, but I had a good deal, so it was all pretty good, to be fair. It was sad when the team came to an end. Like in 23, I wouldn't have moved anywhere else if Steve had continued, as long as he wanted to keep me, obviously. I would have stayed riding for him, So the only reason I moved at the end of 23 was because the team stopped. Mm-hmm. So and that was hard. That was hard at that time to move away from something you've been winning on, something you're happy with, and everything was great, and then to go, right, now we've got to find a new team after 5 years. It's what everyone does every year, but it's not the easiest thing to know, what road to take, really. So it was a bit of 23 was middle of that year was a little bit stressful because I didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, who I was going to ride for, how I was going to piece it together. There was a bit going on that year, but I knew early, it wasn't like I didn't know till the end.
That's what I was going to say to you. At what point did Steve
told me early, he gave me plenty of time. So
before it became public
knowledge, of course. Yeah. Like I knew plenty of time. So that wasn't an issue. That was a good thing that I knew. But you still got to figure it out in the end, and when you're racing, it's hard because you're so focused on what you're doing and your training, your results, all the other stuff. And then when you add that element into it, it becomes quite stressful, So, and I do it myself. I'm sure you do it yourself, Christian. Other people, some people have got people looking after them to look after that side of things. But I do it myself, and you just got to take it on and get through it, really. So,
do you ever feel like that side of that was ever an element when you, I suppose, being there 5 years, when you got to the end of year one? Were you already thinking, I'm just going to stay here, me and Steve get on, I don't need to worry about a contract because I know he's going to stick on, and then year two, it's the same thing. I suppose you almost get, not complacent because you're still pushing and driven, but you can relax because there's always going to be a contract on the table. Yeah, that's the first time in 5 years that you had to go,
what we're doing.
I'm going to have to go knock on some doors here.
Every year you're obviously renewing your deal, but it's when you're winning races and you're happy and you got a team that you get on with, there's no need to change, so it does take that out of it. But after an extended, and I had a Honda, I was at Honda for a long time before I switched to Yamaha, and then I was at Yamaha for a long time, and then I've done 2 big blocks, and in these last 3 years I've changed quite a bit, so it's keeps it exciting. Sort of.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
Throughout all them years, you were at times absolutely dominant. Definitely at the start seasons. What do you think about the Showdown system that they had back then?
Man, like it's that was sent in by a Patreon. I can't be too negative towards it because...
Which was the year that you really had a massive...
So in 21 I scored the most points in the year.
Yeah.
But obviously didn't
21 was it was your year for the taking.
Yeah, so basically. It was...
the Showdown fucked you.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think going into the Showdown, I was something like 120 points ahead. And I lost the title. And that's not taking anything away from Taz because he rode great throughout the year as well and won a lot of races too. So it's not like it was lopsided. It's not like I won 15, he won 2, and he won a lot of races as well. So it was just the way that it worked out. And in a normal year, yeah, I would have been champion. And in the Showdown situation, I wasn't. But you know, in that year, it didn't work for me. It worked for Taz. In another year, it might have been the other way around. You know, but it's I think it's better now. You know, like. Since it changed though, like in 23, for instance, I crashed a lot and it hurt me, you know, so if it was a Showdown system that year, maybe it would have been better for me, you know, so it's just how it works. But I think I think the championship's always done a great job with what they're doing. You know, maybe it didn't always work for me or against me or for someone else or against someone else, but they're always evolving it. And I think now looking at it with the not losing any points, I think is better. You know, like what you earn, you keep, and the gaps might be smaller between positions, which keeps it tight. But at least you're not losing a big points lead like you used to. You know, so
yeah, because obviously back when you did that, it was it the top 6 or 8 got scratched their points apart from podium credits back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, they went to like 500 points or something plus podium credits.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think, again, like 21, say I was 120 points ahead. You went to the Showdown, you're like 30 points ahead. So it's like you lost 90 points in one hit, you know? So, and then you have one crash and all of a sudden you've gone from 120 to 5.
It was Alton, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Alton, yeah.
I don't know how you sat and said everything you've said there without any animosity towards that situation, because when you describe like that, I was 121 points ahead, and I went to 3.
Yeah, yeah. It was hard to take at the time for sure, but
because from a championship point of view, it and keeping the excitement and the interest for the spectators, it's a brilliant system.
Yeah.
But for someone in your situation,
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and I think it's. When you're racing and you've got you build this points gap, not just in that year but in other years, you're calmer, you're more relaxed, you ride different, and then all of a sudden it goes, and now you got pressure, and the way you do things changes, and then it's just a snowball. You know.
Do you think it did add a level of pressure to you that changed the way you approached things, because it immediately completely turned everything on its head?
Yeah, I think so. Like I'd won so many races that year that when I went to Alton, I wanted to obviously keep winning the races, and I knew that Taz was a little bit better than me at Donington and probably a little bit better than me at Brand. So I'd beat him at Alton earlier in the year. I'd won some races, and I thought, right, I need to win at Alton, get a bit more of a points gap, and then the last 2 rounds I might have enough. And it went the other way. You know, Taz won the first race at Alton when I crashed, and then I crashed again in the last race. I finished second in the second race. And then, it was just a bit of a roller coaster from there, really. But I can't remember exactly. I think I won 11 or 12 races that year. So it was good. You know, it's a good year. It's an amazing year. Any other year you win 11 races, you probably win the championship, you know. But it's, didn't happen. So I need to try and have another go at it.
Well, they don't have that system now, so you're all right.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, exactly. So, but no, they were great years, and you know, when I look back on it now, you think you win 11 races in a year. It's amazing, you know. And I had years where I think 2020 I won 4 or 5, then I won 11, then I won 7. Like I've had big chunks of wins in years, you know, which is pretty special when you look back on it.
And then for the following year, you then made it. It's a big switch. I mean, you were, like you said, you were kind of happy with where you were, but you're forced into a scenario where you have to go looking. Did you have many options? I assume you did, because you're in a great place.
Yeah.
Overall, you're one of the top riders out there, but you know, how did that sort of play out?
Yeah, so probably halfway through 23, obviously started searching around, met with a few different people, spoke to a few different people, and the people that I warmed to the most was the FS3 guys, you know, like they had a good solid team, you know, like the people in the team, really good people. I wasn't sure on the Kawasaki because I'd never ridden one, but I went to the workshop a couple of times, and I just felt good, you know, I just felt good with them. And you know, a number of other factors had to fall into place to make it all come together. You know, one of the things that I had at Yamaha, I'd built myself into a position where, you know, I was doing quite well from racing, and I wanted to keep that level of deal in place. And it took a lot of work when I moved away from McAMS to get that somewhere else. It took a lot of work to pull that together, and we managed to do that with the FS3 guys. You know, I'd worked with Presti before at Honda. I knew his level was really good. The other options that I had were still good quality options, great teams, but I decided to go with them guys. And my plan with that when I went there was to stay for a couple of years. I wanted to do a couple of years there. I didn't get on with the Cowie as well as I wanted to get on with it. I won a race on it. It was huge, massively different to the Yamaha, and it was good in ways. And the biggest thing I struggled with was the engine character, as in the way the bike accelerated and slowed down. I struggled a little bit with the stopping on the bike and just the engine character in general. I'm not sure why. It's just that's what I struggled with. It could have been a better year if I'd not got hurt. I got hurt at Thruxton. The year itself was strange because we had some pretty bad weather that year, like on the Fridays and stuff. And I don't know what the tyre rules are like now, but in 24 we had basically one tyre per session. And you're trying to make that top 12 qualifying thing, and you're turning up to tracks where you've not ridden the bike. Everything was sort of like, it always felt rushed. And the first half of the year wasn't bad. I won at Donington. And then I had a really big crash in warm-up at Thruxton when the engine seized at the end of the back straight. And I went into the wall. I thought I broke my femur. Bike hit me dead on top of the leg. And I snapped the ends of these two fingers. So I can't remember what they're called now, but the ligaments tore off the bones on them two fingers. And I had to ride with these finger things on. So I was putting my glove on, but I had these finger splints on, and it made it really difficult to use the brakes. I could ride properly, but to ride how you needed to ride was tough. And I rode with them for the second half of the year. So from Thruxton to the last round that I rode with those.
What, with the little finger splints?
Yeah, with the finger splints on. So it was, again, it's one of them injuries where it's such a small thing that you look at. But to ride with that, really, I probably need to stop riding to try and let it heal, but you don't. You keep riding. That hurt me a little bit there. So I think if I had another year on the bike, I probably would have got going a lot better, been a lot more consistent. I think I could have fought for the podium more often than I did the previous year. But at the end of that year, another opportunity came up, and I get into the age where I can't stall anymore. I need to make decisions, and when I feel like something's right, and it's an opportunity that I don't think will come up again, I'm going to take it. And that was the first big decision that I made really at the end of 24, was to make a big change, and it was a huge change. And that was partly down to how the season had gone. If the season had gone more smooth, and I'd not had the injury, and I'd won a couple more races, and everything was a little bit more hunky dory, I maybe just went, I'll hang here and do another year on this. But it didn't, and I thought, no, I'm gonna change and try and win again. Biggest thing is I wanted to win again. I know we all want the same thing. Everyone goes racing to win, but when I'd won as much as I'd had over the previous years, and then I won one race in 24, for me it wasn't good enough, and I needed to feel that. I needed to feel that winning feeling again, and that was one of the biggest decisions. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but we've got some Christmas music outside. I think that's a delivery driver pulling up.
Amazon giving us surround sound.
So we've got some nice tunes there if you can hear that.
I thought it was Grace giving us some ambience.
Yeah.
That was good. So
do you think it was a bit harder because, like you said, I don't know how much people realise, but in the BSB weekend format, it looks from the outside probably like we get loads of time.
Yeah.
But the way we have it, you kind of qualify to get into qualifying, don't you?
Yeah.
So it's very hard to set up a bike on a race weekend, innit? So you've come 100%. Off a bike from having 5 years of knowledge. It's almost not the first 4 of practice, but you're always getting on something you can probably push that point. So like you said, I guess maybe if you'd had another year, because let's not forget you did win a race. Did you get another podium as well?
Thruxton, race 1, and then a pole position at Cadwell. So I had performances on the Cowie that were good, but when you look back on that year, and obviously I've joined Honda now, so I hope they're doing more of it. But in that year, they were the Honda boys were getting out quite a lot. They were going to test, and I don't know if they had to deal with I think it was no limits or something like that. It was a couple of weeks before the event, they'd go to the track, they'd do some
they had
track
a session
days.
within a session.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the factory team, it was I believe it was the a lot of people riding Hondas, and in 24 there's a lot of Hondas at the front. And when we were turning up, like I remember just one thing that comes in my head, we turned up to Knock Hill, it was going to rain in FP1, straight out the box, and you're going for it to try and be in this top 12 because it was going to rain for the rest of the weekend, and no one wants to go through Q1 if you don't have to. And you do 8 or 9 laps and then it rains, and that's you qualified for qualifying. And it just adds another level of stress, and it makes you rush it. You can't, like you said, on the Yamaha, I'd turn up, the settings I had on the bike, if I didn't touch a thing on that bike, I could have raced that bike. After year 2,
that must have been such a nice feeling.
It was, I bike that I knew everything about it, and the team knew everything about it, and it was so. It wasn't easy because you had to race some strong guys, but it was easier from that sense, as in
the foundations are already there.
If we turned up to a weekend and it was wet up until race 1, we were still good to go for race 1.
Yeah.
Whereas when you turn up on a new bike and you've not ridden it there, you're not. You're not. For starters, you don't feel comfortable anyway because you're still getting a feel for this completely different character of bike, and then you're rushing the weekend too. So yeah, it was tough. It was difficult at times, but then I look at the race that I won at Donington, and I feel like I rode as good in that race as any race I have done. I felt as good on the bike as I have done on the Yamaha. When it worked, it was cool. It was good. It just, for me, it didn't work enough. It wasn't like every time I got on it, I could get that feeling. So that led to the point where when the opportunity came up that I took for this year, I dove into it. So
just before we move on, do you think another year would have just ironed out a lot of that, or do you think there still would have been?
Yeah, I think another
it was
year.
Maybe a 3-year project. Rather than 2 seasons.
I think another year would have definitely ironed out. Obviously, I would have been fit for starters without my hand injury, but it would have put us in a much better place. But the feeling that I had at the time, my honest feeling was it wasn't going to be good enough for me to win as much as I wanted to win, and that's why I moved on. And that's not anything to do with anyone in the team. That's not anything to do with any people. They're a great bunch of people, really, really good team. But I didn't feel like the bike was what I was going to need from what I'd ridden previously on the Yamaha, and the people I was going to have to compete against on Yamahas and Ducatis and all the rest of the stuff. I didn't feel like it was going to be enough to win as much as I wanted to win. So it would have been a lot better for sure. But yeah, I wouldn't have won 10 races on it, I don't think.
Having just gone the other way in terms of bike switch, the characteristics, they couldn't be much more different, could they?
It's opposite ends of the scale, isn't it?
Weirdly, I don't know what you think, but I actually find that chassis-wise in long corners there's not a great deal of difference. I was surprised at how in the long corners the Kawasaki's really good on the long corners, which I never really thought would be the case, but literally engine characteristics, you wouldn't even believe the two things could race on track together because of that difference.
No, and you wouldn't believe they can be so close on lap time either.
Yeah.
Because they're just night and day. And I'm sure it's as hard both ways. If you'd spent 5 years on a Kawasaki and then you jumped on the Yamaha, you'd feel you would be the same as me the other way around. It's just a different character of bike, and not saying good or bad. It's just different.
Both of you guys, obviously before we pressed record, you two had a bit of a chat about the pre-season, how you've got on with the Yamaha, and then that conversation just then between the two of you. Can't help but thinking of a bigger picture there where you look at Jonathan Ray, who spent all that time on a Kawasaki and then gone to a Yamaha, and what you two have just said from dealing with those two bikes from a manufacturing point of view, that points massively at
perfect example, because you look at Johnny. Johnny's one of, if not the best superbike rider on the planet, and I still believe he's one of the best riders at the moment. And he spent so many years on that Kawasaki, and that was exactly what we were talking about for me on the Yamaha. He knew every detail of that bike, and he could have turned up to a track, probably started on a Saturday, and been competitive, against the best guys in the world. And then you've done that for, I want to say 8 or 9 years, was it? And then you've switched to the Yamaha, and it's not that he forgot how to ride. No. It's just completely different. And now you're playing catch up with the people that are comfortable on their bikes. And especially in that championship, you've only got to be a small bit off, and you're further down than what you should be. So
I find that kind of thing like really interesting. I find it quite an interesting concept, because if Johnny's a perfect example, because whether he's got the talent to ride it in a certain way is without doubt, because he's the winningest World Superbike rider of all time. But sometimes it's not that simple. You ride a bike the way you think is the best way, but it's not always the best way that bike. That's not always the fastest way that bike goes around the track.
He's almost 100%. Been moulded to ride a Kawasaki the way a Kawasaki.
I'm sure that when he was looking at data, there was probably places where he was way faster than any other Yamaha rider, but that wasn't the best way to get that bike around the track, because whatever he was doing was then potentially hindering him somewhere else. All the riders go around the track in the best way they think it's possible.
Yeah.
There's potentially another way, and almost all the time the riders are capable of doing it that other way. You sometimes need that time to understand and learn. And
definitely.
Like Jason said, after so long on a Kawasaki, and the opposite way for you, so long on a Yamaha, that process is not a 2-minute job.
It's longer, isn't it? As in,
you probably get within a tenth or 2/10 extremely quickly.
Yeah.
And then that last tenth or two is like...
It's hard.
Whoa.
Yeah, really hard.
But it's interesting that you've both gone to, it's the engine that's the most difficult thing, not chassis.
Yeah, so
because I would always, I would assume, all right, well, the number one thing will be the way the chassis is responding, the way the bike's feeling. But both of you said it's the engine that's. I just think, I'm fascinated by that. I think it's.
One thing I think people don't always realise is that engine characteristics, it's not always just like acceleration characteristics. A lot of it is decel characteristics, which most non-racers probably don't think about, because you wouldn't really. You just think, how fast does it go?
Yeah, how much power has it got? How does it accelerate? It's both ways. It's it's a complicated thing.
2024.
Yes.
Yeah, you're in the mindset of probably going to have to change something here.
Yeah. Yep.
At what point in the season were you like, this is not, because you said at first you kind of wanted to do 2 years or 3 years or for
like to be honest, the first part of the season I wasn't really thinking. I don't know what I was thinking, whether I was thinking of changing or not changing. I was just sort of going race to race and just hoping it was going to get better, and it didn't need to get that much better, because I'd won by round 3 at Donington, and then we had some bad weather. We went to Knock Hill, I qualified second, and then we had wet races which were awful. I crashed in maybe all of them, I think. I'm not sure. I think 2 or 3 of them. So that wasn't ideal. And then we went to Brands, and again, the I think we had some wet practice or something, and I finished 5th or 6th in the races. And then after that, I got hurt at Thruxton. So it was almost like to Thruxton was a bit of a whirlwind, and I know that's probably around 6 or 7. But then I went to Cadwell and I got pole with my hand, but I'd not really had any results to shout about. And around that time, it was starting to get to a point where I was thinking, if I'm completely honest, a Yamaha in BSB would have been a saviour. As in, if I could have jumped back on a Yamaha, I probably would have just gone, I know what to do with that, just get me on that and I'm good. But that didn't really look like it was going to be possible. And then this endurance thing came up, and it was around, I want to say it was around Cadwell or soon after, that this endurance thing started to make some waves. And
was that an approach from them to you, or was that an approach
so I spoke with Nicola. I knew Nicola from 23 when he came to Donington, and I sort of, as everyone does, you keep in touch with, you're not talking to everyone every day, but you just keep in touch with people. And I had a few texts with him, and he'd said, I'm thinking of stopping racing. And at that point, he was obviously thinking of taking this other job that he's just taken. And I thought, well, that's could be an option for me.
That's Nicola Canepa.
Yeah, Nicola Canepa from Yamaha now.
And his role now is like Yamaha.
So I want to say he's like, I don't know the exact. He's like racing manager, like road racing manager now, I guess. I want to say he's moved into Andrea Dosseli's role that was previously in that role, and he's moved up again to something else. So Nicola's got a good job there at Yamaha now, and he had a lot of years racing for Yamaha previously. So, and I got on with him great. When he came over in 23, rode the McAMS bike, got on with him really well. And when we started chatting, it just felt pretty good. And I obviously know the Yart, the Yart team. I don't know I didn't know the people personally, but I've known a lot about, you watch endurance racing, Yard, they're right at the front. And I just sort of thought about it and thought, and I know it's a bit of a cliche, when you're a kid you want to be world champion, but I wanted to be world champion. That's the whole reason why I came over here in the first place, was to try and get into world championship racing. And over the years I made BSB my home, as in that's where I ended up. Not everyone can move on to world championship, and I made a good job out of BSB. And I thought, this is probably going to be the last opportunity I'm going to get where I honestly believe that I can have a chance of winning a world championship. And I thought about it for a little bit, and the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to do it. And it was just about lining it all up. And then I actually didn't think it was going to come off to start with. I thought, they talk to people and they're going to just feel you out and see, they'll talk to me, they'll talk to someone else, get someone with endurance experience or whatever. And then it became real, and it was like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, fuck it, oh yeah, yeah, I'll do it, yeah.
Excuse my complete ignorance, because I genuinely don't know the answer to this, but did you have any endurance experience before?
Yes, I'd done some races, but not what I would call experiences. I'd done Suzuka a couple of times.
Okay.
I'd never done a 24-hour race. So yeah, I've done Suzuka, I think, twice before. So I'd had a little bit of endurance experience, but not.
What years were they in? Who were they with?
So, good question. I want to say 2015 and 2017 with Sakura Honda.
Right.
And actually, I've done it 3 times. And I rode for the TT Legends team in 2012. I filled in, I was with John McGuinness and Cameron Donald. So I rode the TT Legends bike there. So I rode once on Dunlops and twice on Bridgestones. So yeah, that was, but Suzuka, Suzuka's a different sort of endurance race. It's not like a 24-hour race or it's more of a sprint race every time you get on the bike, really. But it was the small amount of experience that I had. I knew going into it, it was, there's going to be a lot of pressure on me, because I was taking Nico's position in a winning team with no experience. There was a lot expected of you without realistically going to have a lot of time to do it. And but yeah, I wanted to take it on, and that's what I did. So I went for it.
There wasn't necessarily a thirst for endurance racing. It was just this is a great opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. It ticked 2 boxes. The first box was that I wanted to ride a Yamaha again. And the second box was that it was an opportunity to win a world championship, which I didn't think I was going to get. And that was, both of those things were enough for me to go, yeah, I'm gonna stop BSB, and I'm gonna, and to be honest, at the end of 24, I was all in on endurance racing. I was going to do endurance racing for, again, a bit like the Kawasaki job. I was going to do endurance racing for the next few years, and that's what I'd planned on doing for the next few years. And yeah, we managed to win it this year, which was all right.
Did you have a sounding board to throw that, when you were thinking about all this, do I go there? Because there was probably other opportunities to stay in BSB, whether it was with FS3 or another team, or, and like you said earlier, you manage yourself, you sort out your own deals. Was there any doubt where you were thinking, do I want to go and do this? I'm stepping away from BSB, like I've made my home here.
Yep.
Or was it, I don't need to talk to anyone, that is what I'm going to go and do?
Yeah, I had a pretty strong feeling that that's what I wanted to do. If it was the option of doing the Kawasaki again in BSB or the endurance with Yamaha, this was the only option for me. I wasn't going to commit to doing that again.
But if someone had popped up with a Yamaha in BSB,
then I would have had to think about it for sure.
Right.
So it was everything lined up at the time when I put my options on the table. That was, for me, that was my best option. Not just for any, not for one reason, for all of the reasons connected to it. I'm really glad that I did it. I'm really glad I did it, because
it worked out all right.
It worked out all right. Yeah, and I had a great year. I loved it. It was great, and I really enjoyed it. It was a bit like the Kawasaki year, as in I felt like everything was rushed, because put it this way, right? Le Mans, biggest endurance race going, and I've done probably 8 laps in the night before this race.
Night practice, we don't get a lot, do we?
And it's and now you're going into a race that's probably got best part of half the race in the night, don't know the track that well, not had that much time on the bike. there was a bit of pressure on to perform, and I think it would be different if you went into that situation and you're with a team that wasn't expected to win, but you know that you're in a team that's expected to win, and the situation was certainly fast forward. Everything's going fast forward to try and make it work, and we did it all right, so it was good.
As much as that's like difficult in a way, do you think it made it easier because you just go,
you're in,
yeah. Like you're all in.
You've
learn on the job almost.
100%, as in there was no time. The biggest thing that I found out this year with endurance racing was it sounds mad because you're talking about endurance racing, there is no time. As in, there's 3 riders, sometimes 4. And the way the sessions and stuff work, you just don't get any time. You just get no lap. Well, you get some laps, but not what you would expect. It's obviously you get a lot of time in the race. You got a long time on the bike in the race, but leading up to the race, it's not a huge amount of time. So it's so you learn it on the fly.
Did you do much pre-season? Did they do any?
We did
simulations of Jess, you're going to go do a 55-minute stint.
No, none of that. We've done some track days. We did some bike promotion track days at Valencia. We did 3 days there. Did a couple of days at Cartagena, and then Yacht every year run a day at a place called Ricard. I want to say it's Croatia.
I think it is.
But Valencia was good. Cartagena was okay, and then we had a lot of rain in Rijeka. So I rode the bike 5. When I say 5 days, they weren't open pit lane test days; they were track days. So it was sessions. But I had ridden the bike. We had the pre-Le Mans test. But again, when you've not been involved in endurance racing and you go to these tests or these races, you soon figure out that it's not what we know as in BSB test day. You've got 50 odd bikes on track, sometimes more if teams are running 2 bikes, and you're sharing. So you're 6 laps, stop this. So it's different. It's different for sure, and good but different.
It sounds like that. So that transition, because obviously we've all done endurance, so we know though it's very different concept. It was obviously a shock to the system, not getting the time that you thought you were going to get. And how did you find it? I don't mean by saying not all eyes on Jason, as in, but you know what I mean? Like, how did you find having to share information with teammates or not getting the bike set up exactly how you want? Like, how did that work out?
It's quite strange because throughout the week, everyone in the team wants to be the fastest. Okay, so we're all teammates, and we want to do well. We want to help each other, but we also want to be the fastest, because when it comes to qualifying and stuff, there's very limited tire stickers. So you might get 1, I might get 1, you might not get any, or you might get 2, none. It depends on who's been fast and who we think's gonna do the best lap time for the qualifying. So it's points in qualifying. So throughout the week, you sort of like everyone's quite competitive, to be fast. And then you get to the race, and now you've all got to. I need you and you need me, and we've all got to work together. So it's a bit of a different dynamic. I was cool with it, as in I got on. I had really 2 really strong teammates, Marvin and Carol, and we were lucky that we got on as forget motorbike racing, we get on as people anyway. So it was quite a good feeling in the team straight away. But certainly different, as in it's not all the details for you. And I'm used to all the details for me, as in maybe I'm a little bit picky with some things, maybe I'm not so picky with others, but generally you get pretty much what you want most of the time, and that gives you your performance. But in this instance, it was not that. That's the motorbike, we're riding it. If the guy that's riding the bike that's just got off is going fast, you have to go fast, as in there's no option. There's no excuses, working. As in it's working. Yeah. It might not be perfect for you, but you have to try and make it work. And I feel like this year I adapted well to that, more so than what I would have done in previous years, because in previous years I would have been really fussy with it. But I felt like I got on with it pretty good this year. And I quite enjoyed it, to be honest, because it brought it back to just riding a bike again. And sometimes in BSB, and I'm sure in other championships, you work for the finest of details, and sometimes you get caught up in it. And this was just back to riding, as in it was, if you wanted performance or increase your performance, it was on you, and it was quite good.
Did you think, or did you find or feel that, because obviously the other two guys had been there for a few years, I think, had they?
Yeah, they've been, I want to say Marvin's been there 8 or 9 years. And I think Carol's, and I think Carol's, maybe next year's going to be Marvin's 10th year, because he mentioned it last week, actually.
Wow.
And
you've been there a long time.
And I want to say Carol's been there 5 or 6, maybe.
Yeah. Because when you're the new boy coming in, they're going to be looking at you, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're going to be,
sure. Yeah,
like, who's this guy, and are we going to like him?
100%. And again, hard coming into this particular team, because with Nicolo there, they had such a strong team. And he was also there for a long time. Yeah. So they had a great relationship. They had everything was, they wouldn't have chose to break that team up. It was just that Nicolo had moved on, he retired from racing. So, they were in a position where, I needed to come in and fill the space. And we all had to get on and get on with the bike and whatnot. And yeah, it worked out right in the end.
And first race, go out, win the race.
Le Mans, it's like... What was perfect with that race was that I obviously knew Le Mans was big, but I didn't know how big Le Mans was. And if you're like,
it's another level, eh?
Yeah, if you're in endurance racing, it's a bit like what BSB has been to me. I think like I've had this BSB championship, which I just so badly want, and I just turned up and just rode, and I was just part of the event, and I didn't really think that much about it. I just sort of took the week in my stride and whatnot, and it was the biggest event I've been a part of, without a doubt, and for me the biggest and best win that I've had. It was amazing, it was incredible. And do you think you're slightly naive to how big that event is then? 100%. Yeah, like I knew Le Mans 24 Hours was big, but I didn't realise how big it was and how much it meant to everybody. It's a huge race, and such a difficult race to win, and it's not necessarily the fastest team that wins. You have to get through 24 hours of racing, and it was just mad from start to finish. It was just mad. Yeah, it was an incredible event.
You always see that picture that they always bring up of Foggy World Superbike brands, like 97, 98. There's 100,000 fans all through Paddock Hill. Like, those days are gone. But you go to Le Mans, and that's the start line, isn't it? You just look up and you just think.
For me, when I stood on the start line, and I'd watched parts of the races, but I'd not watched it from start to finish, so I've not seen all this stuff before. And you're on the grid, and then all the teams are lined up, and the national anthem goes, and both sides of the grandstands are up, and it makes you emotional when you're there. It's an incredible feeling, and then you got the 24-hour race, and you get to the end. Obviously, we won, we're on the podium, and everyone's still there. The whole.
They all disappear in the night and get a little bit more pissed, and then they appear again at about 10 o'clock, don't they?
But like stood on that podium, as in the podium over the pit lane, just looking down, and it was just people for as far as you could see, and it was like.
Is that the career highlight?
Yeah, 100%. Like, it was. You're emotional anyway because you're tired. You know what I mean?
I'm only crying because I'm tired.
Yeah, and then you think you're going to finish second, and in the last hour it changes, and all of a sudden we're all awake again. We're on again, and then you win first race with the new teammates. I want to say Yacht have won that race once before, something 2009, I think. So they've been trying a long time, and to win it was just it was incredible. Yeah, it was amazing.
Some of the most horrendous conditions that you've ever.
Mate, that race was so tough. As in, Marvin crashed on the first lap, so that was the start of our 24-hour race. He qualified on pole. Marvin did the lap time, really fast lap time. It had rained, so he's on wets. Crashed the last corner. Last corner was so slick on the first lap, so that's the start of our 24-hour race. Carroll gets on. He does a double stint. First stint, his is a double because the conditions had changed. My first stint's in the basically the dark, so it's like, again, I've done 8 laps in the night, and we're about to go out at Le Mans. And Max Newkirkner was our crew chief, and he's gone, right, we're going to go on wets because the track's it's drying, but you've not been out yet. We'll put you out on wets, and everyone else was on wets, but the pace was slowly changing. There was one person on dries, which was Greg Black, and he just crashed. And we're sat in the box, and he's like, right, we'll go on wets. And things changed really quickly, as you know, in endurance racing. And Carroll's on his in lap, and he goes, right, we're going on dries. And I was like, fuck. It's all right. I was happy with wets, to be honest. It's dark. I've not been out yet. I would have been happy. Yeah, I would have been happy on wets. And he goes, no. He goes, right, you're on dries. And so I'm rolling down the pit lanes, really long, obviously, pit lane exit at Le Mans. And I'm nervous anyway, because it's first stint. And I'm on dries, and the track's wet. And there was a line, and I want to say the line, and I'm not exaggerating, I reckon the line was that wide for the whole race, as in, it just didn't dry. It dried like on the line, but it stayed wet all over the track. And you're passing people on wet patches, and when it's dark, you don't know if it's wet, if it's dry, if it's what. It was just about keeping on two wheels. And
that I really struggled with the headlights, picking up how dry off the dry line was. Yeah. Because, like you say, it was that, you couldn't see. It was that big.
Yeah.
And there was then sort of a band either side that you could probably get away with. Yeah. Then you were back to damp, weren't you?
Yeah, and it was proper wet.
But the fucking headlights never gave you an indication of how dry the drying outside was. It was
it was tough. It was really tough, and there was so many bikes on the track, and you're obviously passing people on, and then it gets to a point where everyone's on different tyres, so the pace is a lot different for people. And I got up to pace pretty quick on the dries, which was good, and I took the lead in that stint that I did. I took the lead of the race, and then it was just a whirlwind after that. I had a crash in the race. I had a stint which was about 2.5 stints in the middle, because I'd gone out, safety car, so we saved a load of fuel. Then I crashed but stayed out. Then I was towards the end of that stint on dries, and it rained, so I had to box, and I got wet, and I got sent back out. And then I had another full so it was just it was so
if conditions change in that team, do they keep you out because you know the conditions?
Pretty much, yeah. Like they what they try and do, especially if the conditions are changing rapidly, they'll try and keep the guy on the bike that's on it,
because you know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And the worst thing for us is that if you know you're getting towards the end of your stint, you got 3-4 laps left, and the conditions change a lot, and you have to box, then you're going back out again. So you're counting your laps down, thinking, yes, I'm getting to the end, and then you're thinking, oh no, I'm going again. And
how many laps were you doing in the stint? 28, 29?
No, Le Mans was more. It was.
I guess you weren't. It was in the fuel, were you?
Yeah, like in the rain, we were doing like 38 or 40 laps, I think, in the rain. Because we're obviously not using fuel, so it was a long time. I think a wet stint was maybe an hour and 20 minutes, something, maybe more. So it was long. Yeah, they were long anyway.
How did you find it physically? Because you're not used to that sort of.
Yeah, physically, sort of I was actually all right, because it wasn't as intense as a sprint race, and once you find your rhythm, like anything, if you're out on a push bike or in the gym or whatever, once you find you know that's your where you need to be, you can get through it. One of the things I struggled with a little bit with the 24-hour races, not so much the 8 hours, but the 24s, was just like food, hydration, all that sort of stuff, because it's one thing hydrating for a couple of hours, but you try and do that for 24 hours, like your stomach doesn't like you have your hydration tabs or whatever, and you really need to know what products you're using, because it can really derail you a little bit. We had it at the last race actually with some food and some other bits and pieces. And
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah,
that was the Bordeaux where you all got poorly, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Bordeaux. Yeah. So Carol was the worst, and I got quite ill in the night as well. So Marvin seemed to be okay, but Carol was really, really poorly. We were doing different rotations there. It was say Marvin, me, Carol, and then when I was feeling a bit ill, it'd be Marvin, Carol, me. So we're just doing different to help. Whenever you had to, it was changing the rotation to keep it going. But in the 24-hour races, it's something you don't even think about. When you've not done it, you think, it's fine. You just eat a bit of food, drink a bit of water, do whatever. But man, it can be quite brutal. And then when you got to try and ride for another hour, and you already know that you're not feeling great, it makes it an even longer job. So yeah.
And then you went to Spa after that.
Yeah, Spa was cool, man. Spa is one of my favourite tracks I've ever ridden.
Had you been there before?
No, we went and done so we went from Le Mans straight to Spa. So we just finished 24-hour racing, went straight to Spa. There was one track day there on the Wednesday. There's only like 2 track days there a year or something. And we made it there, but it rained. So we did like 5 laps on a stock bike with rain tyres. So I'd ridden the layout, but I'd not obviously ridden Superbike there. I'd not been fast there. Again, race week of Spa, we had a test, rained the whole time. So I want to say I'd done about 5 or 6 laps in the dry before I had to use a Q tyre in qualifying. Go fast. And
good job you know Yamaha, isn't it, really?
Good job it's a short track. It's not very technical.
Oh my God. And 7.5 kilometres long. You've been there?
Yeah, I have. It's unbelievable.
Like maze and circuit, but
crazy technical in it.
Crazy technical, and to go fast, to be expected to go as fast as boys and girls that have raced there for many, many years, it's it's hard. And I'd love to go back and do it again. Did a 2 minutes 19 in qualifying, which was fairly fast. Not as fast as the guys that ended up getting pole and stuff, but for only doing a handful of laps, it was fast enough for me. You got 5th, 6th gear corners. It's such an incredible place.
There's nothing like it over here that. It's almost like if you took a bit of everywhere from here, isn't it, and put it all together and took all the best bits,
stretched it out, and made it faster. Like
for me, it's the size of the plate, like the gap between Eau Rouge and then up to the top bit. You're just singing, aren't you? Just on the pipe the whole way up there, and then the run up to the last corner. I think that fast left I just find incredible.
Oh, the double, it's like a double, double left.
Yeah,
6th gear in the first bit. I think back to 4th, and then just open the gas again and drive it down to the last chicane.
And they've moved that barrier back.
Good.
So that didn't used to be that. Like it's quite a way back now. Yeah. That used to be where you could nearly read what was on the side of the tyre.
It's still not that far back.
No, it's not. But they can't, because if you look behind there, it's a big drop down into the paddock underneath. So they can't go any further back with it.
Yeah.
But I always just used to think, fucking don't run out of fuel. Like right at the top. You run out of fuel up there.
You're knackered.
You just wait for recovery, don't you? You're not even attempting to push that back in.
No.
I think until you've been, you can't appreciate how big the place is.
Just the size of the place, It's not like it twists back on itself to make it long. It's actually it's long. And that's I actually got asked this question last week with something that I did, and that was probably my biggest disappointment of the year, Spa, because we should have won that race. I was 3 seconds a lap faster than anybody in the rain.
I was commentating for Eurosport at the time, and I remember you getting on the bike and your times because it started dry, didn't it? Then it turned to wet, and your times in the wet were. We were watching fast on the screen. It was like fucking.
It was going well, and I took the lead of the race. I put a minute in second place, so I was over a minute ahead. Got double stinted. So again, when you're doing well, they go right. You stay on the bike. So I got a double stint. By the end of that second stint, we'd had over a minute lead, and then I made a mistake in the pits. Something went on and I touched the bike at the wrong time, and again that's just lack of experience in endurance racing, and I touched the bike at the wrong time and got a stop and go, and I had to take the stop and go. Marvin went out next and he crashed, so we lost a big chunk of that time, and then I got on the bike and had to do the stop and go, so I did the stop and go, 15 seconds behind TSR, got back to the lead. I was doing another double stint, so I knew I was going to do another double stint. I was on my in-lap, and I had L1 on the board. And because I had the stop and go, I didn't want to make any more mistakes. And you've got Eau Rouge, you've got the long back straight, then it goes right, left, right down the hill. And I come up on the Kawasaki, and I pulled out to pass him, and I seen a yellow board on the side for the yellow flag. So I thought, I can't go through, I need to pull out. So I pulled out. But he must have felt me here, so he ran wide to try and let me through, but I thought, I can't pass because I've just had a stop and go, I don't another one, and the yellow flag's out, so I don't even want to be in a position where I've had to pass and let him through, and I don't even want to go near that, so I'm just going to follow him. So we ran really wide together, and then we came back on the line, and we must have just come back on a little bit sharper or just a little bit different or whatever, and as soon as I touched the gas, I just massive high side.
Came down with snow on you.
And it was just, it was so big.
Because you crawled to your bike.
Oh my God, it was so big. And I broke my foot, I broke my ankle, base of my ankle. And I got to the bike, and I was just in a mad panic. I thought, oh my God, we're about to win this race and now we're not even going to finish. And I got the bike up, right handlebar was completely snapped off. So I've got the twist grip down here. And I thought I just have to get it back. And I rode it back with one handlebar. And And then, to be fair to Marvin and Carol, they completed the race. I obviously couldn't ride again after that. I think there's 2 hours left or something. And Carol got us back to the podium, and he'd had a really strong last stint. Beat, I think it was Surt. Was ahead of him and got us back to the podium. But for me, that, when I say biggest disappointment, that could have been one of them moments where it was like, yeah, that was amazing. But it was the other way. It was still amazing because we got, what other race do you do where you race, you crash, and you get on the box? So you've still got to be happy, but at the same time was like, it got away, so it could have been cool.
What was it like with a broken foot, ankle, whatever it was, with one handlebar hanging off, trying to nurse a bike back, but with people still racing around you? Because
horrible. It was just horrible. As in, especially like when we're talking about them fast lefts, I was what you call cruising. Like I couldn't go fast. As in, I couldn't steer I was struggling to steer the bike, and it's 6 gear flat out for some people. So I'm sure they're coming up on me thinking, "Oh my God, what's this guy doing?" So it was that part of endurance racing is actually quite strange. It's quite difficult. And I can't remember whether I don't think this was in the race. I think this was in practice. But Spa seems to have some quite odd rules with their marshals and stuff. Because I came through El Rouge, back straight, flat out, and I arrived to a marshal in the middle of the track with a flag like that. And I'm flat out, by the way, 6 gear. And he was before the chicane and like veering us off so he's looking at us, so he's veering me off that way. So to my left,
the outside of the
slip
track.
road. Yeah. So someone's obviously crashed in the chicane, and instead of stopping the session or doing whatever, he's just stood in the middle of the track with a flag.
And you're going at him at
and I'm going absolutely flat out, and I'm going, that's looking like there's someone there. I'm just going to start slow. Obviously, you start to slow down. Veers us off the track, go through the slip road, join the track. Didn't stop the session, come back around, and everything's gravy again. It's just like, what? What is this? It's just like mad, absolutely mad. But it's special place. Yeah, I'd love to go back. Really love to go back.
Just without the high side.
Yeah, just without the high side in the.
Nobody stood in the track.
Yeah. But big high side, man. Like that was.
It was huge.
Oh my God, I'd not had a high side like that for a long time. But yeah, it was big. It was really big.
And then you had how many weeks to get fit for Suzuka?
So I went to Suzuka the next week for the test.
Oh yeah, because they did the test, yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't walk. I was on crutches.
Was it a rideable injury then?
Like I could ride, but I just struggled to move around.
Which foot was it?
My right foot, so it wasn't so bad.
Okay. You're on a foot brake on the bike?
We didn't have any re-brake on the bike. So there's a foot brake.
Nothing at all?
There's a foot pedal, but I couldn't get on it because it was so high. So I never touched the rear brake on it. But and they don't have handbrakes or anything in endurance, I guess, because it's just one more thing that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And you don't need it, to be fair. It's not so bad. But I say rideable injury. Of course, rideable, no real issues, but Suzuka's quite tough anyway. And it was straight to Suzuka test. So, and then I did have a bit of time after that. To be fair, I had enough time for the race to be good. I wouldn't have wanted to have done the running start, but riding the bike was fine. so yeah. But Suzuka was another, probably a bigger disappointment when you look at it from a points side of things. We'd led the championship up to that point. We were quite fast. All of us were quite fast at Suzuka. Struggled a little bit with the bike, more than what they did the previous year. Changed the setting a little bit. I'm not sure why we ended up where we did, but we ended up there. And the other guys weren't quite as fast as they were the previous year. And obviously I wasn't as fast as they were the previous year, but this year we were all similar, so it was where we were at. But still good enough pace for probably the podium, or at least top 4 or 5. And we didn't finish. We lost a load of points. So I had a crash in the race. We got going again. Then Carol had a crash from the engine failure. So or whatever broke. So yeah, that was a big hit for us because, again, new to endurance racing. I don't know. I'd never been to Paul Ricard, so I didn't know what to expect. But with Suzuka losing so many points, everyone was a bit down. We thought we were going to Paul Ricard and we probably weren't going to win. They've obviously got a lot of experience there, and they know that it probably wasn't going to be that favourable for us. And going there, I think we had 1 point lead in the championship. We'd gone from probably looking like having 15 or 16 points, which would have been enough to go, we can finish third or fourth in this race and don't care who wins, to go in there and having to try and win the race. And so yeah, that was a big hit for us, the Suzuka job.
I assume some of the nervousness about Paul Ricard was with the mechanical longevity, there's a massive back straight there, and it's never really been kind to Yamahas in the past, has it?
Yeah, like my first time riding there was on race week. We had the test on the Tuesday, I think it was, and I call it a test. It was 2 2-hour sessions. I've never seen so many bikes pop in my life. Like it was just
chaos.
It was just incredible. Yeah. Like there must have been 15 red flags, and it was all from bikes stopping
down that back straight.
Yeah, and just like it is so brutal on the motorbike, and it's I guess everybody's worry was we need the bike to finish, which we have no control over, and we're a little bit down on speed anyway. So we're going to be down on speed on the BM, on the Suzuki, definitely the Honda. And so we have to, we're riding a slower bike than we normally ride anyway. Like we've got a bike that's a little bit
safer.
We want to be safe because we want to finish.
Turned it down,
detune it a little bit,
and so it's even it's just tough. There's nothing you can do on that straight. You're just a passenger. But yeah, we did a clever, smart race. We got to the end. Got a little bit of luck towards the end because no matter which way you look at it, I feel for the BM guys as much as it helped me win a world championship. I feel for them. I'm sure they felt for us in Japan when we broke down, and I the same for them. You don't, when you've done 24-hour races, you don't wish any of that stuff on anyone. It's 23 hours, 30 minutes into the race, 20 minutes into 23 hours, 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the race is just it's brutal that.
Where were you? Were you sat in the garage at that point?
Yeah, honestly, this was just absolute chaos. As in, I'm sat in the box, and at this point, was 30 minutes of the race left. So we're going to finish third in the race. We're probably going to finish second in the championship. Okay, everyone's disappointed at the minute because we don't think we're going to win. If we'd not finished at Suzuka, we would have been in a position to win. So everyone's a bit flat, and I'm sat there, and then I just hear noise. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know if it was from our box, if it was the box next door. I didn't know what was. I just heard noise, and at this point, I'm already getting ready. So Carol's nearly ready to come in. So I'm nearly ready to get on the bike, and I looked up at the screen and I seen the 37 bike touring, and I was just, oh my god. And at that point, I didn't even register. that this has just changed the championship to start with. I just thought, the 37 bikes stopped and they were ahead of us, and now everyone's starting to come around me and starting to get a bit panicked, and I'm thinking, this has just changed everything for the last 30 minutes. And then Mandy, he gets a bit stressed anyway, and he sat next to me and he's stressing hard, and then I start stressing a bit, and then there's people moving around, and I'm just like, you guys are just gonna have to leave me alone. You're just gonna have to leave me alone. Yeah. I'm gonna have to just focus on what I'm doing here. And they didn't know whether they wanted to keep Carol on the bike, because again, this is a hard situation now. We've got 20 minutes left of the race, or 30 minutes left of the race. Do we keep Carol on the bike and just let him circulate? Do we make the switch and put you on the bike? What do we want to do? And I said, just keep it as normal. He's coming. He knows he's coming in. Take him off. He's done his job. Put me on the bike, and I'm cool. I can just get it to the end. And then it starts to rain. And just before I'm about to get on the bike, it starts to rain. And it wasn't a lot of rain, but it was enough for the rain flags to come out. So now I'm getting a bit panicked, and I sort of zoned everybody out and just went, I'm just going to block everybody out. I don't care. People can speak at me now, and I ain't listening. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. And as soon as I get on that motorbike, I'm going to go as slow as humanly possible to get this bike to the finish line. And that's what I did. I went out, and I didn't care what anyone thought to my lap time. I didn't care what anyone thought I was doing. I just rode it as slow as I could to tick that time off to get it to the finish line.
What buffer did you have to the next guy?
We had like 10 laps.
So you could properly cruise.
We had like 10 laps to the next guy. I had absolutely no interest in trying to go fast or do anything. I just wanted to get to the finish line. I knew before I went out, and it was good that, I can't remember who told me this, but when I went out, they said, make sure Suzuki passes you, because now you don't have to do another lap. So if I was ahead of Suzuki and they had taken the flag, I would have had to do another lap to get the flag. If they'd passed me on that lap and they got the flag, I got the flag with them. So that makes sure that happens. So I can't remember who was on the bike now. I think it was Masson was on the bike. He passed me on the back straight. I thought, right, that's one box tick. That's cool. And at a point, I didn't know how much time I had left, because the board wasn't showing me anything. They were just telling me ready. So they just put ready on the board, telling me I could come in to change tyres, because they thought I might have wanted to come in for wets. So I'm thinking, shit, just tell me how.
Just tell me how long's left.
Yeah, how long have I got left? And then once they'd figured out, because I thought there's no way I'm boxing,
Did you not look at the clock on the gantry?
Oh, honestly, I don't know where I was looking. I was so all over the place. And then they switched over, and it was like L2, L1, and down that back straight on that last lap, I thought, if I get to the end of this back straight, I can push it from there. I'm good. I can push it from there. And, I was so soft on the bike. And it was, I remember it, like when I got to the end of the back straight, before that, it was like nervousness. And then when I got to the end of the back straight, it was just like this strange emotional feeling, like I can't really describe it, but it just sort of hit me at that point. It was like, you guys are going to win, and I know I had a little bit of track to go, but I thought I can get it there from here. And to turn into the last corner, come out of the last corner, see, EWC World Champ on the board was amazing. It was incredible.
You're glad you got to finish the race?
Yeah. 100%.
Starting the race, did you ever start one?
I didn't start any this year. Marvin started all of them.
Starting and finishing.
And, it would have been amazing anyway. The celebrations in the box and that would have been incredible. But to ride across the finish line was something pretty special, really. So, yeah, it was cool. It was really good. Really enjoyed it.
1 year in EWC, 1 world title.
Yeah. World title, the Mon.
Mic drop.
Yeah, mic drop. Yeah, we had 4 races, 3 finishes, 3 podiums, won Le Mans, won the title. Probably should have won Spa, but got 3rd. So, yeah, it was awesome. It was really, it could have been better, could have been worse, but as a whole, I can't complain. It was really, really, really enjoyable year. And it sort of, for me, it just reiterated to me why I made that decision at the end of 24. And if I had done this year, stepped away from BSB, and we'd not had that success, I wouldn't feel the same about it, but it just wouldn't have felt justified for that change. But to make that change as big as what I did, to go from spending so long here and then just jump over to here when probably no one was expecting it, to win the title was cool. It's good. Enjoyed it.
Which sort of leads us perfectly into
why
the next part.
2026. Which
why?
To be honest with you, I didn't see that one coming. Didn't. I thought you were maybe going to stay. I thought you potentially found like a bit of a new home there. You say, back on a Yamaha, comfortable on a Yamaha.
Yep.
Win a world championship, right? We'll go back and defend.
Yep.
With all due respect, a little bit further down the career path that you are, it is a paddock that seems to give a little bit more longevity to the older riders in the paddock. I'm trying to be really, really diplomatic in how I'm wording this. So it would have been the logical place for you to stay to sort of not see out your days, but finish your career in that championship, because realistically at the age you are, you've got another 7 or 8 years you could do in EWC if you wanted to, when you look at the likes of Gintoli and David Checker. Didn't really see back to BSB on a Honda coming from anywhere. So
no, it was good. It was I think it was probably a pretty big shock for a lot of people, to be fair, but I won't go into it massively, but basically what happened was, at the end of the season, finished season, you're world champion, and I'll start it from the beginning, and I'll go through the process and I'll tell you how we got to here. But it looked like I was going to lose my seat at Yard.
Okay.
So and basically my deal was with Yamaha, so I had a contract directly with Yamaha, and Marvin and Carol had contracts with Yacht. So I was just placed in the team, so I could have been put anywhere. So the situation was that it looked like I was probably going to get moved somewhere else. And at the time, it looked like Yamaha were going to try and sign Johnny. So Johnny was obviously finishing World Superbikes. And when I spoke with Yamaha, they were trying really hard to sign Jonathan to, I don't know if you'd say replace me or take that position in the art team, also do the Yamaha World Superbike testing, and some races or whatever, you know. So it put me in a position where I thought, okay, I don't really want to do this other thing that's there. I'm going to have a little bit of a look around. And to be fair, like I'm old enough and wise enough to know that if you have the opportunity to sign Johnny, the profile, 6-time world champion, all the rest of it, I'm not stupid. You didn't take
offence to it.
No, I get it. I get it. I understand it. Although I'm sat there as world champion, I understand the situation. And that was originally what it looked like was going to happen. So I was sort of, I didn't take offence to it, but I was hurt by it, as in I thought I've done a good job here, and I don't really think you understand how difficult it is to go into that situation in your first year and perform to win a world championship. It's hard, you know, it's really, really difficult. And that was at the beginning. So that was the start. That's where I sort of thought, oh, okay, that's sort of a bit of a bit what you guys just said with me coming back to BSB, that's a bit of a left field. And then it sort of evolved over the next couple of weeks, and it sort of come back around. So the job actually came back to where it was. So, but in this middle part, I started speaking to some people, and one of the people I spoke to was Honda, and I spoke with Neil Fletcher, and I knew Neil from when he was at Honda before. So when I was at Honda before, and he was at Honda, I knew him, and we got on quite well, and I. Been involved in a different paddock this year. I've seen different things, a little bit of EWC, World Superbikes, BSB, seen different stuff, and the only manufacturer that I can see at the minute getting bigger is Honda, as in they're growing the input that they're putting into Superbike racing. And I spoke with Neil, a bit of chat, nothing too serious, just spoke with him, and nothing came of it to start with. It was just a bit of chit chat, and then everything came together really quickly. So in the last 2 weeks before I signed with Honda, I had the Yamaha Yacht deal come back on the table, which I had, which I could have stayed there for another 2 years. I had the Honda BSB deal come up, and then I had one or two other things that were cooking in the background, which weren't ready to be signed or sealed delivered, but they were definitely what I would call real options, as in they could have come to something good. And I got to a weekend where I had a chat with Neil on the Friday. We took the weekend to have a think about it. And then on the Monday, we had a chat. And it was one of them things like the end of 24. I just felt like it was what I wanted to do. And I think I ticked the EWC box. And if I hadn't won the World Championship, it might have been different. But I won the World Championship. And I ticked that box. And I still haven't ticked that BSB box, and I still believe I can do it. And if I didn't think that I could do it, I would have stayed in EWC, because it would have been much easier, as in to turn up there as world champion, number one on the bike. You've got teammates, you've got long races, you've got, you're
already settled with the bike, you're settled with the team.
You carry on, and you come back to BSB, you're back in the firing line. You've got 25 guys on the grid that are all capable and fast, and it's on you. The spotlight's back on you. And when we got to a point of deciding, I just made that decision and went, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And it was a nice position. It was a stressful position to be in to start with, because I didn't know what I was going to do. And then it was a nice position to be in because I had the options on the table, and I could choose. Not very often you get in a position where you can choose, and that's what I chose.
It must be quite a nice feeling to be where you are, where you can make those decisions of that's what I want to do, rather than feeling like, oh, I've got to look at a bigger picture here. And probably 7 or 8 years ago, you would have thought about those options slightly differently.
Yeah, definitely.
But you're now saying, I want to do that. That's what I'm going to go.
I'm in a position now where I've had a great racing career. you know, I'm in a position where I can pick and choose what I want to do. So if I want to do this or I want to do this, I'm not making decisions based on any one factor. So it's not a financial factor, or it's not a buy. It's purely on what I want to do now. And I made that decision last year with endurance. That was what I wanted to do. And when I got to the end of the year, won the World Championship, the deal wasn't there immediately. And although I understood it with who the person was they were talking about, I also felt not offended by it, but a little bit hurt by it, as in like I thought I would have just had we would have just signed it off straight away, and it wasn't that simple. And then when it came back around full circle, unfortunately with timing, other things come up and they spark your interest again, you know. And you know, I watched BSB this year, and you know, I wanted to be a part of it. I'm here racing the World Championship, winning the World Championship, but I still wanted to be a part of BSB. And you know, I still feel like I can be British Superbike champion, and I think I will be.
Do you want to tell us what those deals were that were cooking in the background? Who they were with? No, I tell you what I do want to do. I want to. There's something that we've completely forgotten to talk about.
World Superbike.
Portimao.
Yeah.
Stood in for Johnny then.
Yeah.
We can't. I've been trying to remind myself to bring this up for the last half hour, because I'm like, how can we not talk about that? Go on. I bet that was
super tough, mate. Like, it was so hard. It was so hard. It was. I'll touch on that again, but I copped a bit of slack after those races, and I don't think people truly understand. The level of that championship is really high. Every single rider in that championship is super fast, and I will take nothing away from any of them riders, as in they're all really, really good riders. And the bikes are so different. As in, I turned up to Portimao, and I'd not ridden that World Superbike before that weekend. So I'd ridden the Yacht bike. I'd ridden the Cowie, rode the Yacht bike at a couple of track days, and I'm in at Portimao. So I missed the test 2 weeks before because they took Augusto Fernandez. So Augusto Fernandez was supposed to ride the bike. He done the test. I think I was at pre-Le Mans test or something. He done the test, was supposed to do the races, and then he got pulled into the GP. Someone got hurt in MotoGP. Now, in my contract with Yamaha this year, it was to EWC, some World Superbike testing, and also be a replacement rider for the World Superbike Yamaha riders. So it wasn't like I put my hand up and said, "Oh, can I come and do it?" That was part of my deal this year. So
if Johnny gets hurt or Andre gets hurt,
you come and ride the bike. And that was just part of the agreement that we had at the start of the year. I wasn't that keen on doing it, because if it wasn't already a part of my deal, I probably would have said that I don't want to do it. Now, that's not me saying that I want to pass up opportunities like that, but I understand how hard these events are. And anyone comes to BSB for one weekend, or EWC for one weekend, or World Tour for one weekend, you are not going to do well. As in, it doesn't matter how good you are, how talented you are, I don't care. You are not going to beat the people in that championship, that's their championship. It's too hard.
Well, we saw it when Nicolo came from EWC, where he was the man on the Yacht bike, comes to a track that he's ridden a few years ago in European Stock Thou. Nowhere. Yeah,
and it's not based on talent, it's not based on anything.
World class,
it's based on experience, and it's based on what you do and what you're used to and what you're good at. And you know, I went to Portimao, and I knew I was going to be up against it anyway, because they tested there 2 weeks prior, and I'd not been there. I'd ridden at Portimao once before in 2019, the BSB test. And to put it into perspective, in 2019, I did a 43.6 at Portimao to top the BSB test. Okay, that was with Charlie Flores, that was with Scott Redding, that was with Taz, that was with probably you were there, all the BSB guys were there, and I topped that test on that event. I did a 41.9 at Portimao on the World Superbike, and I was at the back, mate. I was last or second to last. And 41's not bad around there. It's not fast enough to be top rack or locker or whatever, but 41, if you've been to Portimao, 41's not a bad lap time. And I just struggled. I struggled with the bike. It wasn't like a traditional Yamaha for me, from what I knew as Yamaha. It was Johnny's bike, so it was a little bit different to the other Yamahas, as in, like, again, what we spoke about earlier with the Kawasaki Yamaha thing, as in he'd done his own thing with it, and I'd probably got on one of the harder Yamahas to ride. And yeah, I struggled a little bit, and I had a crash, hurt my shoulder, crashed turn 1, hurt my shoulder a little bit, which wasn't ideal. And that, before that event, that's what I was worried about. I smashed my shoulder up really bad at the end of 24, I had surgery on it, got it put back together. I'd done a few track days before this event, and then I'm thrown in at the deep end, and I ended up crashing in the last race and went down on my shoulder quite hard. I went straight from Portimao Sunday night to Le Mans for pre-test. That was on the Tuesday. Now, there's 4 riders in Yacht. I knew if I didn't race at Le Mans, I probably wouldn't have raced this year. So, and I'm not saying that in a bad way or a good way. If someone gets on the bike and performs, you're going to keep the team as it is. I don't care who's signed to who, you're going to keep the team as it is. So I knew I had to race at Le Mans. So I went Portimao straight to Le Mans test, straight to Assen, and then drove from Assen to Le Mans to test on the Tuesday. So that was my build-up to my first 24-hour race. And when I went to Assen, I did 35.1 or whatever on the bike, so it wasn't a bad lap. It was nowhere near what it needed to be for World Superbike, but if you've ridden around Assen, you know the lap times at Assen it's not bad. And again, I just struggled with the bike a little bit, and I got to a point with the bike where we started testing stuff at Assen, because I was obviously going to be Yamaha's test rider this year. We started testing electronic stuff which had not been used, and again, this is what annoys me a little bit with people that give you a bit of a bashing, especially people that I expect more from sometimes, like on the telly and stuff. Not one person in those 2 events came and spoke to me to ask me what we're doing, or why I was so slow, or how I felt about it. People just had an opinion on it, and I think they should come and talk to you and find out from you why or how come it is, if you want to call it as bad as what it was. So when we got to Assen, we're testing electronic stuff which is not being used on the racetrack. So I'm the guy that's doing this, which I don't know much about electronics anyway, but that's what I'm doing, and it was hard, like really hard. And you're still trying to go fast, and I know I can't get hurt for next weekend, because if I don't race at Le Mans, I'm probably not going to race many races. So it was such a hard couple of weeks, and I wish I'd not done it. I wish, if I'd not had the deal already in place, and I felt like I was reneging on my part of the deal, because I didn't want Yamaha to think that I didn't want to be a part of it, because I did want to be a part of it. I just wish I was a part of it in different circumstances. And again, like the team and the people were all amazing to me. They were all, Paul Denny runs a great team, Yuri, crew chief, Davide, electronics. They were all amazing people to work with. I just wish I could have done it in different circumstances. And I feel bad in those instances. I feel bad, and I feel like anyone that's gone in the last 5 or 6 years has never been able to show their true capabilities, and it's disappointing for me in those circumstances, because it doesn't put a good light on where you've been racing. And BSB guys are more than capable of being in World Championship racing and doing really, really well, but it has to be the right situation, the right circumstances, and it's tough to get them situations, really. So yeah, it was a tough couple of rounds, and like the bike was so different. Like, as we were talking before with Yamahas, and you get used to a certain way the Yamaha feels, and this Yamaha was not how I was expecting it to be, as in it was very different to the Yacht bike. It was completely different to the BSB bike, and I'm sure with time, like I rode it again later in the year in Misano, if I had more time on it, I would have adapted myself to how that style of Yamaha was, but I didn't have you don't get the time. So it's Locker showed how fast he was on it this year, and it's more than capable. It was just a different feeling and a different different experience, and one that I didn't enjoy as much as what I feel like I should have done.
You have actually already ridden the BSB bike again. How was it?
Yeah, good. So yeah, quick turnaround. Well, it was a quick turnaround as in getting on the bike, but I'd had a couple of months off, so last time I rode was start of September at Bol d'Or, and then I rode end of November with Honda Jerez. Obviously feels like it feels like going back home a little bit, really. A lot of the same people at Honda. I spent so many years at Honda. From here where I live, workshop's like 30 minutes away, so it's absolutely about as perfect as it could get. If I turn the clock back, when I first rode the Kawi after getting on the Yamaha, the first day I rode it, I struggled with it a little bit, as in like the feeling on it. Got back on the Yamaha this year on the endurance bike and immediately felt good again. And then getting on the Honda, I had the same feeling, as in I immediately felt good on the bike. So I was really happy. That was, again, stressful when you're changing manufacturers again, as in what's it going to be like? I felt good straight away. So
it's funny, isn't it? Because you've got all that time to prepare. We're pre the year even, but that first sensation you get with the bike, that first meeting with your new,
straight away.
Yeah.
I think immediately. As in, I think even forget lap time, forget pace, forget all the rest of it. In your first exit on that motorbike, if you're going to like it or not. Mm-hmm. Because if you've got to learn to like it, you're going to eventually go all right on it, but you're not going to love it.
Yeah.
And my first exit on the Honda, I had a smile after it. I think both myself and Ryan were the same. We were a bit apprehensive, as in we've ridden the Yamaha and BSB trim. What's the Honda going to be like? And we were both smiling. We both thought, yeah, this is actually really good. And I watched the season this year. I obviously was a part of it last year. Tommy's done a good job. Andrew's done a good job. They've been a little bit up and down. And we need to iron that out. We need to try our best to try and iron that out. But from what I feel, my initial feelings with the bike is, I think it's got, I think it's good. I do think it's good. And, for sure there's areas to work on like every bike. But my feeling is that, again, when you come back from Spain's a little bit difficult, as in the track's so different, the way of riding is a little bit different. But I do think that we're going to be strong. I think we're going to be strong, and
you got to say that while you're looking into Christian's eyes.
Yeah.
Christian's looking at you thinking, is he bullshit?
Yeah. We've got the group chat, and Jason is still in it, even though we've got a BSB Riders group chat. It's the Chrissy tribute chat is how it all came about, which we spoke about before. But yeah, Jason should have been excluded because he's not in BSB, but he was still in it, and everyone was giving that whole nicey, like, oh, great to have you back and all that bollocks. I was like, gutted you back. Bradley already cost me a fortune this year in bonuses, and so did Scott Redding. I do not want another one coming back. I was just waiting for Taryn to say, yeah, I'm coming back too. That would have just pushed me over the edge.
Yeah. No, it'll be it's when I look at the years, as in, it's probably going to be one of the hardest years for a long time. It's there's a lot of good riders, a lot of good motorbikes.
It's stacked in it this year.
Stacked, it's not going to be easy. But one thing that I do know with Honda is that they're committed to it. I go up to the workshop and you see the facilities they've got. It's pretty incredible. And I do honestly feel like they, I know everyone wants to win, but I do honestly feel like they want to win some motorbike races and try and win championships again. So, this year I've got a teammate, obviously Ryan. He's going to, like I touched on before with World Superbikes, that championship's super fast. And, he's going to bring speed back from that, without a doubt. My experience with Superbike racing, and the speed that he's going to have coming back from there, I'm excited for it. My best years in BSB have been when I've had a really, really strong teammate in Taz, and it pushes you on. And I think that's going to do it for us. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, well, I'm devastated. I'm not excited for you at all. We've had some good Patreon questions. We always do.
You're going to have to ask them because my phone doesn't work.
Okay.
So.
Sarah Lowe's has asked just why you chose the number 22 as a race number. And she's put it's quite a popular number in all sorts of racing, for example, used by Alex Lowe. So I don't know if there's any connection with the Lowe's or whether that's just coincidence. But yeah, why 22?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I first used 22 in the first year I raced Superbikes in Australia. There was no real, nothing really behind it. I just liked the number. And then I've just used it whenever I can. First year in BSB, I used it. Super Sport. Tell you what, the number that I actually really liked, I had to use it in 2014, was 122. So I wasn't supposed to race Super Stock in 2014. We were a late entry with Honda. Someone else already had 22, and I had to go 122. And I loved that number. But then when I went to Superbike, I wasn't allowed to use it.
Not allowed to use 3 digits.
No, I think they've banned 3 digits in all the classes in BSB.
Did they?
Now.
Yeah.
I think so.
So I probably would have stuck with 122.
A friend of mine used to be 100, and then I'm pretty sure they ruled it out when he was in it.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. I like it.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Bring back the 3 digits.
There'll be some hashtag there, won't there? Bring back 3 digits.
Craig Thrasher Harris, number 96. What do you think the main advantage of coming back into BSB is with Honda, and how do the changes of Endurance Championship will help with this year's title attempt? So have you basically learned anything that you think you maybe hadn't learned before?
Probably adapting a little bit more, as in like, for instance, we raced the same bike in the wet, the dry, the cold, the hot. We didn't touch the bike's the bike. When the race starts, that's the bike you've got, and the conditions change over a 24-hour period, and that's the bike you're riding. You still go fast on a bike that's made to be in the dry and the wet. So probably just adapting a little bit more rather than having the perfect setting. Why do I think was a question? Why do I think Honda's going to be strong? Yeah,
what's the advantage? What do you think is the main advantage of coming back into BSB with Honda?
Yeah, I think the resources Honda have. Like when you go up to the workshop now, they've obviously got the test team there now as well, the Superbike test team alongside the BSB team. It's a big operation. There's a lot of people there, a lot of smart people there. I think the BSB team now is probably working closer than ever with the other Superbike teams, whereas in the past, BSB's always been a little bit separated. No matter what manufacturer, you're always a little bit separated from them. Whereas I do feel like this is quite close. We can walk through the door to the other side and see the Superbike test bike, so if we need to ask a question, it's right next door, I think from that point of view, I think that'll be a benefet.
Will you have any role in the...
No, so my role is just BSB. Okay. There'll be a few other things throughout the year, but main role is BSB. Yeah. Johnny's obviously doing the test rider job for Honda, which I think could be really good, and I can't wait. To be honest, I'm really excited to see Johnny on the Honda. I think he's going to be really fast.
Do you think he'll ride the BSB bike at any point?
I hope so. I'm not sure. I don't think it's cool, planned, but I'd love to see him on it. Yeah.
Be good to get feedback from someone like him to give you feedback, eh?
Yeah. Probably don't want him to race it. Yeah.
I don't.
But
Johnny, do not come back to BSB.
If he would test it, I think it'd be cool. But I'm really excited to see what he goes like on the Honda, because I think he'll be super fast on it. After my experience on the Honda, the differences from the Yamaha, I think he'll be fast on it. So yeah, we'll see.
Suzuka? Because you'd be the logical choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this year at Suzuka, Will Fast. Did some good lap times at Suzuka this year. Would love to go back, especially with Honda. Honda being what they are in Suzuka is the the manufacturer to be with. I'd love to do it, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Mega. We had some other great Patreon questions, but to be honest with you, we touched on almost all of it. So thank you, Phil, Michael, everyone else that got in touch. Is there anything else you want to touch on, or?
No, just looking forward to coming back to BSB, really.
I sincerely hope you have a very average year.
Yeah. I think the support we get in BSB is incredible. Yeah. Like when you step away from it, over the last few years that I was in BSB, my fan base sort of grew, and you appreciate everybody, but you don't realise how big it is in the championship when you go to other championships. Although it's big, but I was a new guy in EWC, so I wasn't the most well-known person there, and I was new there. So looking forward to coming back to the BSB fans and racing on some BSB tracks again, and being home on a Sunday night too. That'll be good.
I think it's great for the championship. It's great for the sport, and we're glad to have you back in BSB.
Thank you.
So we'll wrap it up. Thanks to OMG and JCT Truck and Trailer Rental. This episode of Chasing the Racing is brought to you by Marlon Motorcycles. Marlon set up a motorcycle workshop in Hanslope, a stone's throw away from Silverstone, and he specialises in one-off handmade custom motorbikes. Marlon's also been in the British Superbike paddock with MMB Racing, with Eugene in James McManus, and more recently with Harry Truelove in the British Supersport. He's been around race bikes. He knows exactly what he's doing with the spanners, and he's built some incredible looking custom motorcycles. You can check him out at marlon-moto.co.uk, or if you're on social media on Instagram, go to Marlon Motorcycles, look for the gold emblem with a wing. Take a look, and if you have got something that you're thinking of doing something a bit different with, check out what Marlon's doing. And thanks for your support in this episode of Chasing the Racing. And yeah, check out the new merch that's available online. We've got umbrellas, mugs, mug holders,
tote bags,
tote bags for your bag for life, yeah, all of that. So yeah, loads of merchandise available. Jump online and grab yourself some Chasing the Racing merch. If any of you guys are interested in joining Chasing the Racing as a title sponsor, get in touch with Grace. You can go on either any of the social platforms or on the website. If you want to join the team as a title sponsor, get your names on these boards, get in touch with Grace. She can discuss with you the different rates that are available for the different levels of publicity that's available to you. But it'd be great to have you on board. Great way of reaching out to the right kind of audience for your brand. So yeah, get in touch, and yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks very much.
Cheers.